This is Braun Strowman, the monster among men, and you're listening to the Bob Culture Podcast with your host, Rob!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a very special edition of the BCP, the Goodest Brother, Chris Nunez, flying co-pilot. Hey, what's up, good brother? How you doing, man?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm stoked, man. Hell of a show. Last time is Synergy Black Friday. What a season finale. And, we had a great time, and I actually got to play this gentleman to the ring, which was like bucket list stuff. Hell of a match between this gentleman and Brandon Kirk for the Synergy title. And of course, that is former JAPW Tag Champ. He was the number one contender for the Synergy Championship, and I'm sure that's not going to be the last time we see him in that position. Please welcome to the show the Mat Mechanic himself, Mr. Eric Corvis. Round of applause. What's up, bro? How are you?
Thank you very much for that introduction. It's nice to get back on track, trying to feel positive after how everything went down on Friday, but I got my head back on straight, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys.
No, dude, it's long overdue, man. And I'll be honest with you, it was such like not a hectic day, but it was a busy day. Lots of firsts for us this year. Being a little bit more behind the curtain. So I want to thank everybody, you especially, for letting me be a part of that entrance, man. Yeah, that was really cool bucket list stuff for me over here. And that being said, I missed a lot of the match, so I had to go back and watch it because I'm moving stuff and just trying to watch. But hell of a match, man. It kind of was a brawl at times, obviously. The ending with the kind of the knockout, Ref Ryan T kind of calling it there. What are your thoughts, coming out of that match?
Well, I mean, you could be as prepared as you want for any battle with anybody, whether you hate each other or not. And all it takes is that one perfectly placed kick or punch or elbow or headbutt to kind of knock you out, man. And that's exactly what happened. At that juncture in the match, like my cardio was still fine. Like I was hurting, but I was still ready to go. And it was like 1 minute I was there, and the next moment I'm like teleported to to Ryan T's arms.
Yeah, that's awesome. Shout to Ryan T, also a Brooklyn Nets fan. So shout to him, one of the best. And yeah, man, you mentioned the word hate. You talk about your opponent. I did watch that panel with you, Colin, Casey, TJ Crawford. And your close personal friend, completely joking, Mr. Brandon Kirk. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot of history there too. Last time we had Casey on, I think she mentioned that you guys have had some history here for over 3 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. What's kind of your thoughts? I mean, if I say the name Brandon Kirk, what comes to mind?
Man, just a unfulfilled potential, man. It's just this dude who could be way further along in his career than he is right now if he wasn't his own worst enemy. If he didn't have to sit in there in the ring, and even though we're beating the crap out of everybody, make a sexual reference about me going down on him in front of a bunch of people just to kind of like put himself over, like whenever he's right in the thick of it, it just seems like he gets in his own way, and he doesn't think that his own shit stinks, man. And to know him for as long as I have and see him kind of just piss away his potential, it's disappointing when you see anybody go down that path, and especially end up as a champion of a company, even with that type of attitude.
Yeah, man, and you kind of hit it on the head there. Watching that panel, I believe you invited everyone to your home. Correct me if I'm wrong. And there were some drinks flowing. There's some real talk. It got heated. It got emotional. Kirk showing up kind of late, kind of showing that how much that title really does or doesn't mean to him. And you were kind of quiet during the first half, man. And then it just all kind of erupted. We kind of see what that title means to Brandon, or the way he's displaying it anyway. What would it mean for you to carry that Synergy Wrestling title?
Dude, it's just the knowing that people have faith in knowing that a company and a fan base has a champion that they can look up to, that they know is going to like take the banner of Synergy and just run with it and do the interviews and do the promotions and film the promos and like just release as much as you can on social media. That's what a champion should be doing. Like whether you're a heel or a face, you know, like if you're the champion of a company, you're the flag bearer of that company. And that's what I would be. That's what I wanted to be. That's what I thought I could be. And then after Friday happened, like, now I'm starting to second guess myself. Now I'm starting to think, like, was coming back at 35 years old after a 3-year break, really the best idea? You know, like getting knocked out makes you kind of have to second guess a lot of decisions you're making. Like, look at some of these UFC guys that have careers and they have iron jaws, and then they get knocked out and they're never the same person ever again. You see dudes that have long careers, they get knocked out once and they're like, maybe this isn't for me. You know, you see careers like Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell and Ronda Rousey, like untouchable until they're touchable. And I'm 36 years old now, and I've felt invincible for really 20 years that I've been in this business until Friday. And I've had concussions before, and I've been knocked out before, but like that moment legitimately made me feel helpless, man. And that's a rough way to feel.
Absolutely, man. But like I said earlier, I don't think that's nearly your last time going for that title. And a hell of a match, like I said, man. And Nunes and I, we've been doing a little bit of a Rocky marathon. So watch some of those later Rockies, man. That'll fire you up. There you go.
Inspired.
Love it, bro. And we talked about Brandon real quick. Obviously, Casey, friend of the show. I could see in that panel there was everyone had a lot of respect for Casey, even her opponent, which was good to see. She did say in I believe her second interview with her that she wanted to face you in the ring. What does that mean to you?
Dude, I would totally be down for it. Like, I love that she's kind of like the flag bearer of, it's not necessarily men and women's wrestling, it's just wrestling, it's competition. Like, she's not an underdog because she's a woman. Like, when she goes into a match, I look at it as like her being the underdog just because maybe she's a little bit smaller, or maybe she doesn't have as much experience. The fact that she's a woman makes no difference to me. And I see how much being a champion means to her. And I see how much being an inspiration means to her, which is how a champion should conduct themselves. So if that ever came about down the line, like I can put me and Brandon Kirk's relationship completely to the side, because I have no ill will towards Casey, and I would have absolutely no issue with sharing the ring with her somewhere down the line. But right now she's got a crown to worry about, and I'm not necessarily a cruiserweight, brother. So it might take a little bit to make that match happen, but I would always love to share the ring with Casey.
No, I love it, man. Yeah, I'm not a cruiserweight anymore. Those days are long gone for me, man. But that's great to hear. Nunes, what do you got for me, man?
So, being a lifelong fan of wrestling, who are some of your influences growing up? Like, who inspired you to become a wrestler, or did a wrestler specifically inspire you? Or, how did you get involved with the business?
Well, I mean, originally, like, I was just like any other, like, little kid, like, watching Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior go at it, and, like, had all the toys, loved it. But I was never that dude that was like, I'm going to be a wrestler when I grow up. Like, almost every single wrestler you'll ever interview or you'll ever see on documentaries was like, I saw it when I was like a little kid, and I knew that's all I ever wanted to do. I didn't. It never even crossed my mind that like becoming a wrestler was an actual viable direction that I could go in. And I mean, I used to backyard wrestle with my friends. Like, I used to go to shows all the time. I had the DX shirt. I would walk around the school in high school going second. Like, I was like the ultimate mark, but I never thought that I could become one. But my family all resides in Bayonne, New Jersey, man. And I was living with my grandmother for a while in Bayonne, and I was dating a girl that went to high school with a couple of guys that were wrestlers at Jersey All Pro. And she knew I was a huge fan, so we went to the show. And then during intermission, Fat Frank announces that they're opening up a school. That's the light bulb moment. It wasn't up until that point, dude. I was 16 years old at an independent wrestling show in Bayonne, New Jersey, when the light bulb went off. And I'm like, I live 10 blocks from here. Like, I could be here every single day if I wanted. And that's when it really like clicked in my head that this was a viable thing that I could do, that this was something that was within my reach. And ever since I made the decision that day, like my first day of training was May 20th, 2001, and I was 16 years old, and I've never looked back.
Wow, man.
That's amazing.
That's crazy to hear, man. And you've been doing this, like you said, nearly 20 years, still, doing great in the ring, getting those title shots, getting those looks. Who's someone, I guess, hypothetically, kind of a two-parter here, who's someone on the indies that you would like to face that you haven't faced yet? And then hypothetically, because let's be real here, man. We're seeing a lot of our friends that we've had on the show 1 year ago, 2 years ago. They're popping up on Dark. They're popping up in NXT, man. And I love seeing that. Who's someone, we can go past, present, future even, a legend. Who's someone on TV that you'd like to face as well?
All right. So if we're going past, this is going to be completely left field, but Raven. He was the guy, I was an ECW kid growing up. Like that was what really made me like look at these guys like that aren't like 8 feet tall and jacked. It's just like dudes beating the shit out of each other. And like Raven was kind of like the Kevin Sullivan of my generation, the guy that like when he spoke, you believed every single word that he said. And I don't know if me and Raven in a match would necessarily be like the best professional wrestling match you've ever seen. But I think like the promos leading up to the match and the story that I could tell with somebody like that, that's what would really be intriguing to me. As far as present, not in AEW, not in WWE, not in Japan or anything, Alex Shelley is always somebody. I would watch his style and it's so scientific, like that's the type of wrestling that really like, I got to rewind it and rewatch it and figure out how he does some of the things that he does, Like, I could pop for some of his transitions like people pop for shooting star presses in 630s. Like, I think that, like, British-style wrestling and that ground-based grappling is one of the most underrated styles of professional wrestling out there. And I would love to go and, like, roll around with Alex Shelley for, like, 20 minutes. And, as far as future goes, I'd say eventually Jordan Oliver, one-on-one. And it's specifically because I've known Jordan since he was literally a child, just starting to sharpen his teeth in pro wrestling. This kid was the twiggiest of twigs. He wrestled like blue and yellow tight amateur wrestling singlet, and he was the young shooter because he had the amateur wrestling background. And it's just cool to see somebody develop from literally like the embryonic state of pro wrestling to where he is now, where he is basically a heavyweight having these crazy long matches with some of the best guys out there. So to see him from that point to where he is now and getting to see somebody's entire journey from beginning to end, as far as future matches would go, I would love to lock up with him one-on-one. Now, we've shared the ring before in like multi-man matches and stuff, but like I want to smack around Jordan Oliver. I want to smack around that little high school kid that I remember, that little spaghetti noodle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not as much of a spaghetti noodle anymore for sure, man. And right now, I believe number one contender moving forward. I'm just going to say this and put this out in the universe. Let's get Jordan Oliver versus Eric Corvis right now. Maybe get that number one contender spot back in action. But I don't write these shows. I don't book the shows here. That's up to Mr. Colin West. And let's be real here, man. You have a great relationship with Mr. Colin West, as far as I know. I just got my feet wet doing commentary for the first time, which was great. Colin gave me a lot of advice, and he said that he used to do commentary with you for a while, man. So if I say the word Colin or the name Colin West, what does that mean to you?
I mean, when you hear him say that, like, outside of wrestling, like, we are legitimate best friends, he's not lying, man. Like, The first time Colin ever came to like a wrestling event, like I literally had a ring at my home that I was training guys at, and we would have like exhibition shows every now and again just to get some practice and shit like that. And that was the first time I ever saw Colin. And to see him from there and watch his love of wrestling develop from like just a fan to knowing a little bit more and knowing a little bit more and learning a bit more until you finally see him get that itch where he wants to be involved, you know? Yeah. So like, Colin and I have commentated well over 100 matches together. He'll always credit me with like really helping him develop like his voice at a commentary desk. And to see him then go from there to working with Funkenstein when Synergy was first born, to taking the reins himself and like turning it into one of the most enjoyable independent wrestling companies out there right now. I'm not saying that every single show is going to be like this PWG 5-star match, mind-blowing match, but you are never going to watch a Synergy show live or on IWTV or on Fight and not smile and have a good time and know that every single person there feels like they're part of it. And that's what Synergy has that a lot of other places don't have right now, I feel, is that synergistic feeling with fans and staff and the wrestlers. Everybody is playing their part and everybody has a role to play in Synergy. And when you're emotionally invested in something, you're going to want to see it succeed. And it's like this snowball effect. Like every time Synergy has a show, they do a little bit better, and we get a little bit more connected to it. It's so silly, but it's the little engine that could. It started out as nothing, and now it's something that people look forward to every single month, especially in 2020 when there's not much to look forward to. Synergy gives you something to look forward to. And that's not just for the fans, that's for the wrestlers too. Like Synergy is in highlights on my calendar with a big circle around it. Like it's something for us all to look forward to. And I think we really need that right now.
Yeah, man. And like I said, that season finale, I got to review it, man. I gave you guys a glowing review. I literally said Synergy is the NXT equivalent of the Indies, because we cover a lot of the Indie shows and we have a lot of guests that come on and they say, hey, we want to go to Synergy. That's a goal for us. We want to make it to Synergy. And Colin is very, I wouldn't say exclusive, but very particular with his roster, which I respect. Casey even said he has a great knack for booking just these matches where people can just have this great chemistry together. He has an enthusiasm for it. It's so great to see. And you mentioned, obviously, doing commentary with Colin for well over 100 matches. I just got my feet wet on commentary. I did a couple shows so far. On the shoulder moving forward to be a permanent member of a commentary team. What advice would you have as far as commentary for someone like me starting out?
My number one thing is very similar to, how we talked a little bit before we started filming, and you were talking about how the conversational type of podcast, nothing's too concrete. You don't have to follow any certain flow. That's what commentary should be. Yeah. Build a rapport with the person that you're commentating with, because your responsibility is to tell the story of the people in the ring. It's not to put down anyone. It's not to make fun of anybody. It's not to put yourself over. It's to tell the story of the people in the ring, saying things verbally that they're trying to say with their body, and doing it in a conversational way. Like every single wrestling fan that watches wrestling knows that what a lockup is. They know what a headlock is. They know what a scoop slam is. Don't stress yourself out needing to remember every single move, because the wrestling fan doesn't need somebody to be like, oh, they locked up and he took his arm and he kicked him in the gut and he gave him a scoop slam and he hits the ropes and he drops an elbow. I want to know why he's dropping the elbow. I want to know why he doesn't like the guy. We know what those moves are. We've been wrestling fans our whole life. Even a little kid on the street knows what like a vertical suplex is. You don't concentrate too much on narrating the moves. Narrate the stories, and you'll do fine.
I love it, man. And again, like I literally have my notebook, dude. I write down everything. I told, I did goddesses. I told all the girls, like, please give me feedback, good, bad. Like I'm a sponge. I'm gonna make the rookie mistakes. I want to learn. I want to hear. What are your stances? I'm a big pun guy. What's your stance on that with the puns? Oh no.
Yes, yes.
Oh, no.
Dude, I'm all about dad jokes and puns. Like other than telling the stories, like if somebody's watching you, especially like when they're watching you on IWTV or Fight or something or wherever they're watching their wrestling, man, like wrestling's still about having fun. Wrestling's still about having a good time. So if you could tell these guys stories and make the people watching giggle every now and again or laugh every now and again, why not? Like, and with me, like when I'm commentating, like I usually have a 6-pack next to me. So like I'll start out and you'll just listen to my commentary get progressively funnier and quippier and quicker as the night progresses. Like if you go back and watch last year's GSI, where it's me and Nicholas K commentating the whole show, like we do some really good commentary work, but you're not going to watch that whole show and not laugh at least 2 or 3 times a match. Like you're going to enjoy the wrestling and you're going to have a good time with the commentary too, because it's our responsibility to entertain as well. We're all working together to be an entertainment product, not just be singularly entertaining.
Yeah, man, and that's great advice, man. I very much appreciate it, but I did get my fellow commentators to pop or laugh once or twice, so I think that's a good sign, and I appreciate that, man. I'll definitely look back and watch that because again, I like to pull from all you guys. I really appreciate the advice. In fact, watching Synergy, man, that great moment, Black Friday, at the end of the night, I did feel like all week that was Casey's week, that was Casey's night. And just what a moment, I took the camera out when she won. I kind of, not that I called the match, but I just kind of let it flow. I did the whole, yo, Brandon, we did it. And like, what a moment. And I thought it was good, like getting the reps and all that, man. Man, just what a crazy night, man. And again, thank you so much for letting me be a part of your entrance, man. That was super cool. I think you were feeling it, man. I saw you up on the turnbuckle drum and I was like, yes, this is awesome, man. But you mentioned to me after the show that you are a drummer or were a drummer as well, man. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. Like from like late high school through like my late teens and early 20s, like I used to play all the time, man. My dad put me together this little like thrown together set. I had like 9 or 10 pieces. It wasn't anything crazy, but like it was something I really enjoyed. But unfortunately, I broke my arm a couple of years back. And I got 2 plates and 8 screws in it, and it's perfectly fine, like for wrestling and high impact stuff. But man, like there's some songs where you're like, and it's just it doesn't have it anymore. Like it just feels like 30 seconds, 40 seconds in, I'm at the gym doing bicep curls, and my whole forearm and wrist will just light on fire. So I ended up just giving it to one of my cousins. So she has it out in Pennsylvania. Wow. And every now and again, like I'll get like, oh man, like listening to you play, like you think I was going crazy on the turnbuckle. You should have seen me like behind the curtain before the song even went in, when you're just doing like that and you're just doing your whole solo gimmick. And I'm just in the back like, yeah. And I needed it at that moment, because like Kirk and I, we're so far towards the back end of the show, and it was a very long show. It was 10 matches. The only thing that I've heard anyone say anything negative about the show is it could have been a little shorter. And when you're spending the beginning stretching out and warming up, and you're getting yourself situated, and you know what your game plan is, and in your head you have your whole match visualized how it's going to go, and then you have 6 more matches to wait and 5 more matches to wait, and you're hearing the crowd get progressively a little bit more tired, and you start second guessing. And I got to tell you, I was sitting behind that curtain and I was cold, and like the motivation went out, and it was just, I got to win that belt, nothing else. I wasn't worried about having a good time. I wasn't worried about enjoying myself. I got to win that belt. I got to put Kirk down. But then you started playing, and I went back into a positive mindset. I got myself back on track, where it's like, it's not just about winning the belt. It's not just about having a killer match. It's about having a good time. It's about appreciating why you're here and that you get to experience moments like these. You don't get to see that on an independent level. You don't get to see like your special takeover entrance or your special mania entry. Like on an indie level, you don't really get that, you know. And for that, that was a moment, and you didn't even know I was a drummer, so you didn't even know the emotional connection that I had with that moment. And that's going to be something that I never forget, man. And seeing all the positive reactions of it for you specifically, like you could tell, dude, you could tell you were having such a good time. You were feeling it. Everybody bringing up you, putting the drumstick on your head and balancing it during the solo. Like those are moments you don't give up, man. That shit's gonna be part of our lives forever now. And like even though we don't necessarily know each other very well, like we share that, and we had that moment because of what Synergy Pro Wrestling is.
Love it, man. Really well said. Anytime you need me, man, we'll do it, brother. I love it, man, and thank you again, man. What a great moment. I'm glad that meant something to you as well, dude. And I had to obviously rep. You see right here for those watching the video version, dude. Hell of a shirt. It's really good. Thank you so much for this, man. I had to represent. This is like one of my favorite wrestling shirts already, man. Really good. Now you told us after the show, man, it kind of has to go with like your hand signal, and tell us a little bit about the story behind the merch here. This was like very interesting to me.
So I was always like, man, you watch like America's Got Talent and like different dance shows and different crews have their hand signs that they throw up, and you see the crowd and they're all throwing up the hand signs too. And I didn't want that that stereotypical wrestling, like, yeah, come on, throw your hands up. Like I wanted something that like was me, and it was something that kids could do if they saw me do it, you know, but also represented something. And years and years ago on an MTV show called America's Best Dance Crew, there was a crew called Super Crew, and their gimmick was they did this, and it was an S, and I thought it was like the niftiest, easiest little thing. And I was like, how could I correlate something like that for me? E.
Nice.
My name's Harry. That's an E. So that the shirt, the middle of that shirt is the legitimate E that my hands make in the exact place that I do it. And I just like, I like things that are nifty and clever, you know? And to me, it's something fun to do. It gets me hyped when I do it. And every now and again, a little kid will come up to me and he'll throw it up, and I'll be like, that's why. That's cool. Now you have something that you can do to connect you with me. Like when we throw these up together, that's Eric Corvis, man. That's Matt Mechanic. And that's a good feeling. Like I like having something like that.
Love it, man. We'll definitely be throwing them up, 2021 at the next Synergy show. And, of course, shameless plug, got to get those in. Everyone check out the Women's GSI 12/12/2020. That's going to be crazy at the Monster Factory. We are sponsoring Tasha Steele's match, so that should be fantastic. Very excited for that. Check that out. That's going to be an amazing event. But I want to talk to you a little bit, and you mentioned this a little bit already, but your philosophy in the ring. Like for me, again, being part of that, I'm an over-preparer. I like to be ready, but I've learned in this business where we have been behind the curtain where it's like, hey, let's just go out there and have fun. And to me, that's like, no, I would have loved to do like multiple sound checks and get all the cues for the music and all that. But I just had a feeling. I'm like, we're going to run the drums out there. We're going to play. We're going to get them out of there. We're going to do it on the fly. And it was great. It was really, really great, man. So when you go out for a match, when you go out to perform, what's your mindset like? We hear all these crazy stories, and do you have any like pre-match rituals or anything like that?
Man, I'm super OCD. So like my pre-match rituals is making sure that I packed everything in my bag where it needs to go. I know where all my things are, and that's really it, man. Like I don't have a special pair of socks that I wear. Like I don't have a special like mantra or prayer that I need to say. Like when I'm wrestling, I guess the one thing that I'll say to myself every time before I wrestle is Like, this is it. This is what you wanted to do. Everybody asks, like, oh, what are your goals in wrestling? What do you want to do? What's your end game?
Yeah, that's the next question.
My end game is every match that I'm in, man. The fact that I get to do this. Like, I get to wrestle for every person who doesn't necessarily get to do it. I get to wrestle for everybody who tried it out and it wasn't for them, but they still like watching it. I do it for every wrestler that had to stop wrestling for a reason that was out of their control. You know, like, I wrestle for every person who has the dream to be a professional wrestler. This is crazy that I get to do this, that I get to be a pro wrestler. Everybody talks about like their end game and their dream, man. Every match, that's what that is for me. I'm getting to fulfill a little dream every single time that I wrestle. And I guess that's why I get so emotional about it, especially like you've seen me talking on different podcasts leading up to Black Friday and the sit down. And yeah, man, there's sometimes I do get choked up. Sometimes I do get emotional. And because wrestling a match isn't just going to a show and wrestling a match for me. At this point, everything leading up to my music playing is miserable. Like, I drive 2 hours to get down to the Monster Factory. I'm not looking forward to that drive. I have to put all my gear on, and I'm a very accessory-based type guy, so that takes a really long time, you know? And then, of course, I'm geared up, and now I have to go to the bathroom, and everything's stressing. Everything's stressed. But then my music hits, and it's a reminder, like, why I'm here and why I get to do this and why I keep doing this. Wrestling is crazy, dude. It's unlike any other performance art in the world. It's unlike music. It's unlike movies. It's unlike television. It's unlike video games. But at the same time, it's every single one of them. Like, we had our own little concert at Black Friday, man. Like, we get to tell stories. We get to get people emotionally invested in what we do. Like, wrestling is emotional. Wrestling should mean something. When I think about it, I'm not ashamed that I get choked up and teared up that I get to do this, that I get to wrestle for championships, that I get to wrestle for my best friend, that I get to live out a dream that sometimes people don't get to do. I don't take any of that for granted. So yeah, I'm an emotional guy, but I don't regret that, and I don't take it back. I'm here, and I love doing what I do, and I'll do it as long as my body will let me.
Very well said. I love that, man.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. Straight from the heart.
Yeah, all heart, man. And that's because you care about it. That's awesome. You know, 2020 has been a hard year for everybody. It's been a tough year for me, man. And wrestling's been there, man, giving me opportunity, letting me be a fan, letting me be a journalist, letting me be behind the curtain. It's been so amazing, dude. It's really been great. And again, I know you touched on this, and I don't want to be super cliche. So I'll put it to you this way, man. We've been seeing a lot of our friends pop up on AEW Dark. Like I mentioned earlier, you know, even though you've been doing this almost 20 years, even the likes of a Sean Donovan last night, popping up, he's been doing it for some time, man. So opportunity is there. You know, I know you said you're looking forward to the next match, the next performance, which I like, man. You know, it's just like the next game, one game, you know, we're on to Boston, whatever it is. But I got to ask you, man, you know, does part of you want that phone call from the Rhodes coaster here, or what do you think, man?
I would be lying if I said that wouldn't be something that I've thought about, you know, but a lot of times, and this happens in sports, this happens in music, this happens in wrestling, this happens to starving artists. If you think too much about the opportunities that you're not getting, you will drive yourself fucking crazy, and you won't be able to enjoy where you are. I've watched so many of my friends stress themselves out that they're not getting looked at, that they're not getting tryout matches, that they're not on television. And I see it almost drive their motivation completely out of them because they think that they're not good enough and they think that they're not accomplishing what they need to accomplish to be a success. Every match is a success. Every good match that you have that you can be proud of is a success. Yes, I would love to be on TV. I would love to show the people that have had faith in me and my family and my friends that, hey, look, like it wasn't a waste of time. Like I got on television. Like I'm a success now. Like I don't necessarily need that gratification. Would it be nice? Yes, dude, it would totally be nice. When I first decided to come back, I made the decision because my dad had ALS, and he
Oh gosh.
and he and I watched some wrestling together, and we were watching a Drew Gulak match, who was a good friend of mine, and he and I've told this story a couple of times, but he asked me if I wasn't coming back to wrestling because of what was going on with him and his health, and I was like, no, like I took time away because I was hurt, but then this happened and I need to step up in the family. So that's what I did. And he basically told me at that moment, like, I needed to come back to wrestling. You need to do. So my original goal was for my dad to see me on TV or somewhere, Unfortunately, he passed before that could happen. But now my career isn't just for me and my moment. My career is the legacy of my father. That's why I'm the Matt mechanic. That's what he was, dude. He was the mechanic. He was an everyman. He was a carpenter. He was a plumber. He was a mechanic. He was everything, So I get to bring his spirit with me along on this ride. And if I make it to TV, awesome. But if I don't, I know my dad wouldn't be disappointed in me. So I'm not going to be disappointed in myself. And I'm not going to spend my life regretting anything. I'm here, I'm doing what I love. I'm doing it in my father's name. I can't allow myself to be negative about that. There's too much positive knowing those things, knowing that my dad is with me on it and that he wanted me to come back. And here I am doing what I've always wanted to do. And as long as I keep his spirit alive, I'm a success, man. If AEW or NXT or New Japan or anything want to be part of that success, awesome. But it's just going to be a bigger stage for me to honor my father.
Wow, man. That's a lot. I love that, man. You're keeping it real, doing it for your pops, man. That's so good to hear, man. And no doubt in my mind, man, opportunity will definitely come knocking because, like I've been saying these past couple of weeks, there's been an eye on this Northeast scene. We're seeing a lot of our friends every week pop up on Dark, pop up on NXT. I love it. I love that there's opportunity. Here's the name drop for you. Tommy Dreamer comes on the show and says the world stopped, but pro wrestling didn't. And he was right. It just keeps going. There's the opportunity. I'm so happy to see my friends get success. I want to see you get success, Mr. Corvis. And Nunes, I'll throw this to you, man. Last question before we get out of here, man, because this guy's been doing it for some time.
So we mentioned advice before, specifically for Rob and commentary. What advice do you have for wrestlers, getting into the business, learning it? What advice do you have for any up-and-coming wrestlers?
Well, the first I'll say is, man, if that's a decision you're making in 2020, it's so much more of an uphill battle than it has been on every other year. But there are some schools that are still doing it right. I just worked with Tom Frazier and Jake Gomez, aka Logan Black, in Brooklyn recently. They have a really good group of kids. Matt Tremont in H2O has a really, really good group of kids. You got the Wrestle Pro. All those guys, you see them on TV pretty much more than any other school that create a pro and wrestle pro guys. Just the House of Glory school is doing great things, man. Like, just find a reputable schools, watch as much wrestling as you can, and just don't give yourself too much expectation. Don't put the weight of the world on your shoulders. Don't think because you go to a wrestling class and you mess up in front of everyone that's the end of the world, because every single person who started wrestling made that mistake. Every single person had a step one. And I think it's a really hard for guys that are just getting started in wrestling to realize that they're at step one, man. Everybody had a step one. Shawn Michaels had a step one. Ric Flair had a step one. Triple H had a step one. They all had step ones and they all fucked up. They all fucked up tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of times. before something clicks for them. Just truck along, man. You're going to get to the point where a light bulb's going to go off in your head and everything's going to click and it's going to work for you. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. And if you're training somewhere that makes you feel bad about yourself for making mistakes, find somewhere new to train. You need people to be there to support you in a positive way. And if you're somewhere that doesn't do that, then you need to find a different school, because negativity begets negativity.
Absolutely, very well said, man. Dude, yeah, dude, thank you so much, man. This is very real. This is one of my favorite interviews thus far, man. This is a lot of fun. And this is the worst segue ever, by the way. But before we get out of here, we have to do the shameless promo like we always do here on the BCP. Eric, tell everyone where they can follow you on social media and where we can get these amazing shirts, bro.
Well, right now, I don't have a storefront yet, but if anybody hits me up, I'm really easy to find. I'm at Eric Corvis on Twitter, at Eric Corvis on Instagram, Eric Corvis on Facebook, Eric Corvis on Skype. I'm pretty easy to find. There's no XOs or 333s or anything like that. Hit me up. I'll send you a list of everything that I have available. I know it's not the most professional setup for my merch right now, but I got more merch than just about anyone out there. I just haven't been bringing it to shows because, 2020 is a bitch. If you ever hit me up, if you're interested in me coming on your podcast or booking me or just have any questions for me, call me Corvis on at Gmail. So once again, very easy to remember. I'm an easy guy to get in contact with. I'm really terrible at plugging myself, but there you go. Thank you for wearing my t-shirt.
Dude. Oh, man, thank you, man. This is one of my favorites so far. And again, Mr. Corvis, thank you so much for taking a few minutes and opening up, man, and just telling your story, man, and keeping it real and the great advice along the way, man. And I just want to say thank you. Stay safe, my man, and just continue success moving forward, all right?
I appreciate you guys having me on. Hopefully I didn't get too deep for you tonight.
No, that's all right. We got the tissue. We've been watching Rockies. There's been a lot of man tears.
Yeah, there's a lot of man tears
here. So yeah, it's all good, bro. Thank you, Mr. Corvis. Always a pleasure. And like we always say here, everyone on the BCP, everyone stay safe, stay positive, take care of each other. We're out. Peace.